Hello, everybody. How we doing tonight? Everybody feeling good? Ready for some stuff to happen? Ready for some news? Ready for Jim to tell you the news, as they say? Sorry about that. Oh, mm. 1 second. This is 1 second. Well, that is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. I didn't have my fan on. I had to go get the controller to put the fan on because it was going to get hot in here very, very quickly. Very quickly, it would get hot. Very, very quickly. So it is what it is. Anyway, how's everybody doing tonight? Hmm? You good? Everybody good tonight? I hope so. Let's see here. Who's here tonight? We have Jody over there in Rumble says she hit the plussy. That's good. Tuckwheat, what's up, buddy? Mr. Gagax, how's it going? No Jabski. Steve Hilliard, hey, how you doing? Yeah, it's none of your business. Hello. Phil Coggins says, I'm not late, but Jim is. Well, I was a few minutes late. This is Catherine K says, hey, hello, Jim and the Jim Somniacs. Are we using the Jim Sonic 3000 computer tonight? We're using the old computer still. The new one's supposed to be here tomorrow. We'll see. Hopefully it'll get here in time for me to actually get it set up in order to stream on it. So we'll see. We shall see. Yes, young Bella. What's up? Life isn't different. How you doing? Yo, for the win. Reminding me to hit that like. That's right. And this is hi Jim, happy to be here for your show. Well, Jay Schwartz, it's awesome to be here. Hey, Mr. Marco, how's it going, Jay? And then we got Alan Suarez over here on Twitch that says, yo, dude, I saw your stream's kind of dead right now. PeakyPeak.com could pump up some real followers here in a real space. Oh, okay, cool. That's nice. 2 intros, we're in for something special. Well, I try to make every night special. There was a song I was trying to think of with that. Something special, a beer, because... What the hell is that beer commercial? It's something special. Time for something special. Is that Lowenbrow? We got the 3 mother favoriters says, would you like many viewers? Let me make you popular. We got Joshua McMahon says, hey, evening, Jim and chat. Well, thanks for being here, Joshua. Sunshine, hello. Tim Lorson, good. What's up? Michael, Michelle, how you doing? And Sherry, what's up? Mama Papillons, Nana, how you doing? Woodtick Mike, hello. J.A. Sweets is here. What's up, man? Lowenbrow. Was it Lowenbrow? Yeah, okay. I thought it was. Yeah, welcome to the Jim Tells You News-a-thon. Make it Lowenbrow. Okay, you want something special, make it Lowenbrow. Okay. It's been a long time since I had a Lowenbrow. Do they even make Lowenbrow anymore? That's still a beer? It's on the market? Is it? Anyway. Yeah, no, haven't missed anything, Rachel Boone. Just getting started. Just getting rolling. Anyway, I got a bunch of news stories for tonight. We'll try to get through them as many as we can. As usual, there's a goal. If we hit the goal, the show will be extended. The show usually lasts about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, somewhere around there. And if we hit the goal of $75 across all platforms and all, mediums, as they say, we'll extend the show an extra hour. And then for every $75, we add another hour to the show. So like last night, we went 6 hours. It was a good show last night. Everybody seemed to like it. And then if we hit the $75, we activate Bellavision, which would be something like that. There she is. And or if any individual donation comes in at $25 or higher. So if somebody was to, super chat $25 or send 25 to Rumble Super Chat or to PayPal or Cash App, or especially I'm very popular. I really enjoy the gifted memberships on YouTube or Rumble. 5 gifted memberships on YouTube or Rumble would be the $25 and would make the thing go. And then someone says, "Here's for Bella." Life Indifferent. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, and there it is. Life Indifferent says, I want Bella now. Okay. Well, you get what you want. Life is Indifferent, and you will get it. So with that, Bellavision is activated, and the banner will reset. to show that we are now $50 away from the first additional hour. Thank you very much. Life is indifferent. Mm-hmm. Okay. It says, okay, did I lose chat? No, you're fine. What happened? No, we're there. So there's Bella. She's just chilling, sleeping. I can zoom her in a little bit, though. Let's fix the camera here before we get into the first story. There she is, just chilling. All right, let's do this. Let's add this to stage. And then we'll do this. We'll do this. And I'll fix Bella. I'll put Bella up here. That way she won't be covered whenever I do the pull up messages. Well, I guess I have this. I guess I have to do that. There we go. Everyone see her good? Looks good. Looks good to me. There she is. Oh, maybe I can make it just a little bit bigger. I guess that still works. All right. Here we go. Thanks, Life. I miss seeing Bella too. Yeah. Thank you for Bella. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Let's see here. So, I don't know if you guys heard, but there was a ruling out of the Ninth Circuit basically saying, yeah, there is one president, and his name is Donald Trump right now, and he gets to decide if the National Guard gets activated. It's not up to some fucking judge. So, it lowers your blood pressure in the last hour of work. Anyone know why my nickname doesn't show up in this chat? There's something weird going on with YouTube's has to do with YouTube and the whatchamacallit and the and their settings. And I could look and see. I don't think there's any way. The only way I think, let me see. I think the only way to fix it would be to do this, maybe customization, maybe take the leaderboard off. Maybe if I take the leaderboard off and save that, let me see if that works. Mm-hmm. Try to refresh now. I took the leaderboard thing off. So I think that's what's doing it. Is something with YouTube's leaderboard. No, you're fine. You're fine. I that bothers me too. But try refreshing now and see if it changes without the leaderboard. No, didn't work. All right. No, no, didn't work. I don't know. Hmm. That's odd. Hmm. So that's the best. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with it. I really don't. I don't know why it started doing that. It's something happened with YouTube. They did some kind of update, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Oh, we had a weird little hiccup there with the views. Oh, never mind. All right. So let's see. So Jessica Tarlov, who, for you guys don't know, Jessica Tarlov is like a wackadoo over there on Fox. She's a way to be responsive. Well, I try, K-Jab. I try. I'm trying to make everybody enjoy it. I want everybody to have a good time. I don't want anyone to feel like they're not appreciated to be here. And, you know, I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate every like. I appreciate everyone who subscribes. And I try to respond to every comment as possible. You know, comments on videos, I try to respond to all of them. And I try to respond to the chat as best I can. So you're still going to challenge the fact that majorities of Americans oppose deploying the National Guard. So let's hear it, because I could read this, but why read it when we could hear this? person.
It looks very different than what's going on during the day. But you still are not going to change the fact that majorities of Americans oppose deploying the National Guard and that Donald Trump is double digits underwater on immigration. And 60 Minutes had two
Double
interviews
digits
that I think
underwater
are
on
really
it. Okay.
important in this discussion. The first with NYU law professor and the co-editor of Just Security, Ryan Goodman, who talked about the hundreds of lawsuits filed against the government that they've sifted through. They found over 35 cases in which the judge specifically said what the government is providing is false information, including false sworn declarations time and again. And that's coming up in a lot of these rulings, that what the Trump administration is saying is, quote unquote, untethered to the facts. And then there was the DOJ whistleblower, the guy who came out, and I know you love talking about Andre Hernandez, the gay hairdresser that you don't care about so much, but this is the guy who was told by a superior that he had to falsify information about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He said he was told that he had to say he was an MS-13 gang member and terrorist. And he said it's not factually correct and I would not do it. And he ended up leaving the DOJ. So they are lying. They're lying in the suits that they're bringing. They're lying in front of these courts, and judges are pushing back against it. So what you're making it out to be is happening on the ground is not the reality, and these judges are saying so.
Okay, well, he's almost undefeated in the Supreme Court.
The handpicked court that will do anything. Well, but the non-Trump appointed judge on the ninth.
You call it handpicked?
Said
you mean handpicked? You mean they nominated them and then they were affirmed?
The National Guard is allowed to go into Portland.
That's the same thing handpicked when a Democrat appoints people, Jessica.
Yeah, the National Guard is allowed to go into Portland, which is what the Ninth, to protect federal buildings and federal
breaking news,
Jessica. So that's another win for the president.
Oh, there's going to be a review of it. Yeah.
But
yeah. So basically, see, this is why they're doing this. This is why these judges are doing this and making these rulings, is so that people like her can go on TV and tell these fucking idiots that are out doing the protesting, like, oh, Trump's breaking the law. The judge said they're breaking the law. That's what. No, the judge is the one who's breaking the law. These judges are the ones who are breaking the law, not following the law. But see, the leftists don't care about the law. They care about power and control. That's it. You want to ruin my evening? Couldn't you just read a transcript of Jessica? Her voice is, well, I mean, her voice is, yeah, where does it show Trump is underwater on immigration? I'd like to see that. No. Yeah. Yeah. The woman is so ignoring explanation, but she can't help being a liberal beyond understanding. Trump is underwater. The majority of Americans don't want the National Guard. Okie dokie. I don't know what polls they're talking about. I really don't. No. And then, oh, look, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has just overruled Judge Karen Immergut, designating herself the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Once again, the duly elected president will be sending the National Guard to Portland to end the leftist crime. Hey, what's up, beautiful messy ball? Nice to see you. Eric Schmidt, senator, says, as I've been saying all along, President Trump has statutory authority to deploy the National Guard. The Ninth Circuit, normally liberal, just reversed a district judge's attempt to block protection of Portland's ICE facility. We must protect our ICE agents. Because it says, wow, the Ninth Circuit splits with the Seventh Circuit to find the president can deploy the National Guard. The Supreme Court must weigh in to check the Seventh Circuit and affirm President Trump is the commander-in-chief. Yeah, the Supreme Court should have already ruled today saying, no, you can't do this. She is notoriously wrong about everything. It's pathological. Yeah. Pure curiam, the defendants in their official capacities seek emergency stay of the district court's order. And the stay was granted. The Ninth Circuit got it right. Federal authority to protect ICE facilities and personnel is not negotiable. When local leaders fail to secure federal property and enforce immigration law, Title 10 empowers the president to act decisively. Portland's obstructionist politicians let violent protests endanger agents and undermine border security. This isn't overreach, it's restoring order after systemic state-level failure. The courts affirmed what Americans already know. Enforcing laws requires strength, not surrender. Every dollar spent defending federal operations from domestic chaos is an investment in sovereignty. Lives in TikTok. U.S. Court of Appeals ruled that Trump is allowed to send the National Guard into Portland. it says that, and I'll read a little bit of this just because, it says, as an initial matter, plaintiffs dispute whether we have jurisdiction over the defendant's motion for a stay pending appeal, but we have jurisdiction to grant a stay under the All Writs Act. So they were trying to claim, trying to pull some shit to claim that, oh, well, you can't even appeal this order. Like, which the Supreme Court already told them, the lower courts, to stop pulling this shit. They grant the defendant's motion stay pending appeal. The evidence the president relied on reflects a colorable assessment of the facts and law within a range of honest judgment. It says defendant's stay motion because we lack jurisdiction over an appeal of a TRO. While TROs are normally unappealable, the Supreme Court has made it clear that where an order has the effect of a permanent restraining order, you can. The court got it right. Federal authority must prevail when local chaos threatens law enforcement. Portland's ICE facility faced violent attacks, and the president acted decisively. Judges who dismiss this as overreach ignore the reality on the ground. When regular forces are overwhelmed, deploying the guard isn't optional, it's necessary. When is Trump going to Portland and Chicago? Well, I mean, the National Guard's already in Portland now after this ruling. And, the Chicago thing is being held up by Amy Coney Barrett, believe it or not. The crazy right-wing conservative Amy Coney Barrett is playing games and sitting on the stay request at the Supreme Court, which they should have already moved it to someone else. They should have said, no, it's an emergency. You can't sit on it, because it went to her on Friday and she sat on it all weekend till today and it still hasn't ruled on it. Yeah, it's funny when no one has standing in stolen election cases, SCOTUS gets no respect from lower courts. Yeah, it is. You're in Oregon? How is it there? How you doing? I mean, I don't know. I just know what I see on the videos from the people on the ground streaming, and it's got to be getting old. It's got to stop, I would think. You got to stop that shit. Can't continue it down this path. That's what I would say. I mean, you just can't keep doing this stuff over and over again. That's my opinion. But what do I know? I'm just some guy. Yeah, you're saying homeless camps and Antifa everywhere? Well, not according to, these people. They claim it's all fine. Supreme Court will rule on it soon, and then all these states can go suck on their binkies. I would hope so. I don't know what Amy Coney Barrett is waiting on. She could have already issued a stay. She had that power. She could have immediately issued a stay. Barnes also tried to warn about the Federal Society and picks like ACB. What a waste on 2 Trump's 3 picks, Rhino picks. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if we had 9 Clarence Thomases on the bench, what a country this would be. The Ninth Circuit ruling reinforces that enforcing immigration law isn't negotiable. Weak state leadership can't block federal duty. This isn't about politics, it's about restoring order and safeguarding Americans. But, like Jessica was saying, it's going to be reviewed because they immediately got enough people on the en banc court of the Ninth Circuit to say they're going to look at this ruling. And, if they play games with it, it's at this point, start arresting these judges. That's what I say. They're breaking the law. They're violating their oaths to the Constitution. And if they're acting outside of the law, they're breaking the law. And they should be charged with violating, deprivation of rights under the color of law. That's what these judges are doing. So charge them. That's what I say. This is what we're seeing, all right? This is what's happening. This is what's happening right now, today. Well, maybe not tonight, overnight in Portland. Yeah, I think this was overnight last night. Like, you know. But that's what's happening in Portland, you know. Yeah. So yeah, so that's response to this, you know. Basically same thing. You know. Then you got breaking news here. The MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin is visibly upset after learning that the Ninth Circuit has just issued an emergency motion that authorizes President Trump to deploy the National Guard to Portland. Yeah, it's mostly peaceful, right? Yeah. Hey, just Dawn, Soulless Ginger, how you doing? Welcome to the jungle. Going down. Okay. You know, we conclude it's likely the president lawfully exercised his authority under 10 U.S.C. Section 12406. If you had to live next to that, you'd be arrested for assault. Well, that's what they're doing too. They're arresting the people. They're arresting the people that defend themselves. So that's a problem. You know, I'd say that's a problem. The president has broad discretion to determine when and where to deploy the guard. That doesn't make him a king. It just makes him a constitutionally bound president.
It is a big deal, and I want to just correct one thing and then explain why functionally it is the same. This is a stay of Judge Immergut's opinion, and that's why it reached the Ninth Circuit as soon as it did, because this is an emergency motion to essentially pause her order. But as a functional matter, you are absolutely correct. It has the function of overturning her order and thereby allowing the president to send the National Guard back onto the streets of Portland. And Katie, I want to read, if I can, just from a little bit of the beginning of this 93-page opinion. It says, after considering the record, and by the record they mean all the factual evidence at this preliminary stage, we conclude that it is likely that the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority under 10 U.S.C. Section 12406. That's the statute we've been referring to as Title 10 when we have conversations about the National Guard deployments, which authorizes the federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. And this is the important part. The evidence the president relied on reflects, quote, a colorable assessment of the facts and law within a range of honest judgment. We thus conclude that defendants are likely to succeed on the merits of their appeal, basically saying that when and if a court considers all of the record in this matter is tried and it gets back to an appellate court through an ordinary process where they have full briefing and full evidence, that they still think Donald Trump is likely to prevail there because he has the discretion to determine as the president within a range of honest judgment when it is reasonable to deploy the guard.
You and I were talking about last week. When you get into the slippery slope of discretion.
Yep.
The slippery slope of discretion. Oh, but they were perfectly fine with Joe Biden's discretion to let 20 million fucking illegals into the country illegally because it was his discretion. So appeals court smacks down judge. Oh, what the fuck? Smacks down Judge Immergut and allows Trump to deploy the National Guard to Portland. A chicken was talking. Okay. Federal appeals court on Monday allowed President Trump. They allowed President Trump. Just think about that. They allowed President Trump to deploy the National Guard. It's not up to them. It's not. We allow you to do it. They don't have to. These are not serious people. This is not how our government functions. The president doesn't have to get permission from every fucking district court judge in the country. They don't overrule him. That's not how it works. Oh, Cesium Cat says, I've lived in Portland most of my life and have lots of police friends. The demon rats have told them to stand down for years. My friends said not to move back there, and many have moved. Oh. I've heard tell that since all the shit that happened in 2020, that like Portland police and Seattle police specific, they recruited a bunch of these Antifa people to be police officers. Now, I don't know how true that is, because I mean, I'm not there. I'm not doing investigating on the ground, but so I don't know, I don't know exactly how that will work out. A federal appeals court allowed. Ninth Circuit lifted the lower court's TRO in a 2-1 decision. So the 3-judge panel included Nelson, Trump, Bade, Trump, and a Clinton appointee. Why didn't they give the name of the Clinton judge? That's weird, right? 3-judge panel included Nelson, Trump, Bade, Trump, and Clinton, but not the Clinton appointed. That's weird, right? President Trump previously called up hundreds of California National Guard troops to Portland to circumvent the judge's order blocking the Oregon National Guard troop deployment. He also activated up to 400 Texas National Guard troops for deployment to Oregon, Illinois, and other states. Earlier this month, Judge Karen Immergut, a Trump appointee, blocked President Trump's National Guard deployment to Portland. Immergut issued a TRO and blasted President Trump's decision to deploy troops. The TRO was set to expire October 18th. However, Immergut last week extended her TRO that blocked Trump from deploying the Guard troops to Portland. The judge warned that Trump's justification to deploy troops to Portland may send the country into a constitutional crisis. These judges are the ones causing a constitutional crisis. They are overstepping, overreaching. They're stepping into areas that are not their areas. Not at all. Greg says that rank and file Portland, Seattle PDs are getting pissed. Upper echelon mayors and governors issuing stand-on orders. Back to blue. Yeah. The Ninth Circuit previously unanimously voted to lift Immergut's TRO on Trump's mobilization of the Oregon National Troops. However, the Ninth Circuit left in place Immergut's block on troop deployment. On Monday, the Ninth Circuit allowed Trump to deploy the Guard to Portland and said he lawfully exercised his authority, which authorizes federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. In a separate case, Trump on Friday asked the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene to allow National Guard troops to be deployed in Chicago. Last Thursday, the Seventh Circuit unanimously upheld the lower court's order blocking Trump's troop deployment to Chicago. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett did not immediately order an administrative stay on Friday. She ordered Illinois officials to respond by Monday. Well, what happened? Trump wins again. Ninth Circuit says he can send a guard to Portland. Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit rules. President Trump has the authority to deploy the National Guard to Portland. Yeah, that's what I said. I'll allow these idiots need to move back to England. We fought a 250-year war against this judicial tyranny. Oh, hi, Jim. That's all the marbles. What's up? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. It's the second time the Ninth Circuit, despite its reputation as a liberal bastion, overruled the lower courts. Because even in the Ninth Circuit, they know that this is outright retarded. A divided federal appeals court ordered the Ninth Circuit to overturn the temporary restraining order put in place by the federal judge. We conclude that it's likely the president lawfully exercises statutory authority. Well, we all know that. It was much has been made earlier of the decision of Judge Karen Immergut, a first-term Trump appointee to block the deployment. Liberal commenters relished in her grandiose declaration that this is a nation of constitutional law, not martial law. The Ninth Circuit has since decided it is indeed a nation of constitutional law, but not the rule of judges against law and order over the Constitution itself. Jim, I bet she had to put off the interview until she stopped crying. She looked very hurt. Probably. Portland governor and mayor are soy boy weirdos. Yeah, the Portland governor's like a bull dyke, I think. If a judge is being nice, say it's okay for POTUS to commander in T6. Yeah, I guess he should check, Before we get into the next story, I want to just do a real quick check just to see if SCOTUS did anything with the Illinois National Guard. All right, we'll do this real quick before I get to the next story, because this is the response. Illinois response to the Trump administration's appeal to SCOTUS to allow the National Guard deployment to Chicago. The state of Illinois responded on Monday to the Trump administration's emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, allowing them to allow the National Guard troops to take to the Chicago streets. The appeal seeks to overturn a judge's temporary restraining order that blocked the Guard's deployment. Monday's response includes several arguments for why the request for a stay should be denied. The state said there's no rebellion or danger of rebellion in Illinois, and therefore no legal justification for using troops. You have the governor and the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago saying that they're in open rebellion. They declared they're in open rebellion. What the fuck are we talking about? They're setting up ice-free zones, and they're trying to protect them. I mean, if this is not open rebellion, I don't know what is. Lesbianese? Okay. Hey, Mr. Sharkman, what's up? Hey, Mr. Sharkman, how you doing today? So that's it? That's the fucking story? That's the story. Seriously, wow. What a shitty story. All right. From Illinois Quick Hits, filings made to SCOTUS. Filings made to SCOTUS National Guard case. Illinois asked the Supreme Court not to hear. Oh, they asked them just not to even hear it. Don't even hear it. Just tell them go away. Not to hear President Trump's request to deploy the Guard amid a disagreement about plans. Top attorneys for Illinois and Chicago said Trump has overstepped his authority. America First Policy Institute nonprofit said Trump should control the orders. The state of California and Maryland are just some of the friends of the court filing to the U.S. Supreme Court in the case challenging Trump administration's use of Guard in Illinois. California already lost their case, so now they're trying to say, well, not Illinois. Homeland Security said Illinois Governor Pritzker is putting his people in danger by not working with the federal government. City of Chicago and 8 other local governments have filed a lawsuit against the President Trump administration over Department of Homeland Security grants. Mary Richardson Lowry claimed the federal government cannot demand that cities dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. What does this have to do? What the fuck is going on with this people? I swear. Anyway, let's get into the next story. And this is, we were on SCOTUS. We're going to jump into this. So SCOTUS is mulling gun ownership legality for pot smokers. Oh, let's hear it. We got this today.
To DC like it does. Second question is on crime prevention. Would you be open to expanding the national concealed carry to apply to DC like it does in other states like Texas?
Yeah. Well, they have it in some states and they feel strongly about it. As you know, I'm in favor of it. People have to protect themselves. I'm a Second Amendment person, very simply. People have to be able to protect themselves. Especially like in Washington, you walk down the street, a guy comes up and slugs you. He's got a pistol in his hand. You can be tough, you can be in great shape, you can be a powerful person, or you can be a guy that weighs 100 pounds with a gun in your hand. Right. And I'll bet on the guy with a gun 100% of the time, right? And so you need protection. So I'm a Second Amendment person all the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the Supreme Court said on Monday that it will consider whether people who regularly smoke marijuana can legally own guns. Spoiler alert. I say they can. I have a feeling those Supreme Court's going to fuck us. I know there's 2 votes that are going to say, oh, fuck yeah, they can. The latest firearm case to come before the court since its 2022 decision expanding gun rights. It didn't expand gun rights. That's ridiculous. It didn't. It just said, hey, stop fucking, stop infringing on our rights. President Trump administration asked the justice to revive a case against a Texas man charged with felony because he allegedly had a gun in his home and acknowledged being a regular pot user. The Justice Department appealed after a lower court largely struck down a law that bars people who use any illegal drugs from having guns. I mean, I could see if there could say you can't use a gun or possess a gun at the time when you're on the drugs. Like if you're drunk, there's laws about being drunk, but just because you drink, they can't say you can't own a gun. Or is that where they're going with this? Anyone who drinks alcohol can't own a gun? A lot of cops wouldn't be able to have guns. Yeah. Why wouldn't they be able to own guns? Well, right now, it's a federal crime. If you smoke pot, you can't own a gun. Right now, you know. Yeah, you're talking about the bump stock. Yeah. But here's the thing, and I want everybody to realize this. Yeah, that was brutal what Trump did. You're so confused. Yeah, so is everyone else. Yeah, if you go to buy a gun, there's a question on there that says you don't use drugs. And you have to check, yes, you don't use drugs on the 4473. That's what Hunter Biden got charged with because he was regularly using drugs. And so basically, according to the federal law right now, if you smoke pot, you can't own a gun. It's nuts. But, but I want to point out the bump stock thing. If it wasn't for what they did with the bump stock, we wouldn't have had that good ruling that basically said that bump stocks and FRTs and all that stuff aren't machine guns. So, that. I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but even though they tried to screw us, it actually worked out to our advantage. The Republican administration favors the Second Amendment rights, but government attorneys argued that this ban is justifiable restriction. I don't believe so. They asked the court to reinstate a case against Ali Daniel Hamani. His lawyers got the felony charge tossed out after the Fifth Circuit found that the blanket ban is unconstitutional under the Supreme Court's expanded view of gun rights. The appellate judges found it could still be used against people accused of being high and armed at the same time, though, which makes sense. If you're high and armed, you could use it against them. If you're high and armed, yes. Just using drugs yesterday and owning a gun today, though, not. There's legal drugs as well, so I guess they are okay. That's the thing. That's what my point is. If they're going to say that you can't, if you smoke pot once a month, you can't own a gun, then if you drink once a month, you can't own a gun. If you're taking any type of antidepressants, you can't own a gun. If you're taking any type of painkillers or anything that alters your mood, they can take your gun rights away. That's where this goes. Mm-hmm. They want to make 2A exceptions, and that's where it begins. More exceptions will follow. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, Sunshine. We either have a right to own a gun, or we don't have the right at all, and it's with these conditions from the government, which that's not a right. It's not. Mm-hmm. How many attorneys argued the broadly written law puts millions of people at risk of technical violations, since at least 20% of Americans have tried pot? I'd say it's a lot higher than 20%. About half of states legalize marijuana, but it's still illegal under federal law. The Justice Department argues that the law is valid when used against regular drug users because they pose a serious public safety risk. I don't think people that smoke pot pose a serious public safety risk. That's a bunch of bullshit. Come on. Yeah, as a former pothead, I was less likely to want to use a gun while stoned. Yeah, I mean, I can see maybe if you're on meth, or addicted to meth, maybe. But even then, if you're not high at the time, why would you not be able to have the gun? The government said the FBI found Hamani's gun and cocaine in a search of his home as they probed travel and communications allegedly linked to Iran. So this case is a shit case. This is the problem. I don't know if you guys watch Four Boxes Diner, but this is a shit case with a shit guy. This is not the case you would want to go to the Supreme Court. So by this going to the Supreme Court, it's going to be a loss for the Second Amendment, more than likely, because the judges aren't going to want to say that this guy who had cocaine and he's fucking linked to Iran, that he was okay having a gun. So it's going to fuck all of us. The gun charge was the only one filed, however, and his lawyer said the other allegations were irrelevant and were mentioned only to make him seem more dangerous. The case marks another flashpoint in the application of the Supreme Court's new test for firearm restrictions. The conservative majority found in 2022 that the Second Amendment generally gives the people the right to carry guns in public for self-defense, and that any firearm restriction must have a strong grounding in the nation's history. The landmark ruling led to a cascade of challenges to firearm laws around the country, though the justices have since upheld a different federal law intended to protect victims of domestic violence from borrowing guns from people under restraining orders. I must be a major public safety risk. Shaking my damn head. I have a neurological condition I use to control pain and actual function. The ignorance. Well, that's the thing, beautiful messy ball. That's the problem with this, is that's where it goes. Because once the crack is open, you know what I mean? That's it. And they'll go everywhere with it. I mean, they could actually, here's the thing. they could use this to say, well, if you're trans and you're on hormones or different hormone treatments, it affects your brain, so you can't own a gun. Because, marijuana protects your brain, affects your brain, I'm sorry. So, if, alcohol, same thing. If you're on alcohol, you drink, you can't own. They could just wipe away the gun rights completely. Like, oh, you're on what medication are you on? We need to see your medical records to see what medication you take before we let you buy a gun. Well, then you don't have a right to a gun. So that's where this goes. Eventually, if the Democrats will definitely take it there, and Republicans probably would too with the trans stuff. They'd probably try to do it to them. So Supreme Court agrees to hear a case on drug users possessing firearms. What's this? It's going to be about something else.
He seems to fit one of those profiles of a Second Amendment advocate. Tell us what we should know.
Well, and not a very vocal one. Brian Malinowski was a professional. He was a well-respected director of the Little Rock Airport, which is unfortunately called the Bill and Hillary Clinton National Airport, but I call it the Little Rock Airport. He was very successful there, and he was a hobbyist. He collected coins, he collected firearms, and he went out occasionally on a Saturday and rented a table at local gun shows and bought and sold and traded coins and guns and other artifacts like a lot of people do at gun shows. He was laying in bed with his wife an hour before sunup on March 19th, 2023, and they heard their front doors crash in. And he had no reason to know he was under investigation, no reason to know that anybody thought he'd done anything wrong. And he got out of bed and grabbed a pistol to defend his wife, took a shot at the intruders, and they blew his brains out. They were the ATF. They'd come with an entire SWAT team to raid his home and search and execute a search warrant as if he was some kind of a cartel kingpin. And yes, that would never happen in any Republican administration during my lifetime, because they were trying to basically attack with something they didn't like politically. The fact that some people, hobbyists, are allowed to go to gun shows and buy and sell guns without doing a bunch of paperwork. That's what Brian was doing.
But if
he
I
was
could
doing
just
out
slip
in front of God and
Brian
everybody.
Malinowski had been asked to surrender, would he have surrendered peacefully instead of having to raid his home?
Of course. Everybody that knew Brian Malinowski knew that he loved his career as an airport director. It's highly regulated, FAA regulations left and right. If anybody had suggested to him that anything he was doing in his spare time on a Saturday afternoon was going to jeopardize his career, he would have backed off. And in fact, the ATF in other situations where they're concerned about somebody's hobbyist activity at a gun show has sent cease and desist letters. And that would have been the appropriate thing in his case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ideally, at any organization, you want folks to be equal parts patriot and equal parts leader. When the ATF came forward after this and you had conversations with them, did they express any leadership when it came to finding the truth about it? Any remorse as far as what had taken place? Anything at all?
The only statements we've ever heard, basically, what the ATF is trying to sell is two things. One is they're trying to suggest that Brian Malinowski was what they call a significant gun trafficker. The second thing they're trying to suggest is that he somehow knew when he got out of bed that there were law enforcement coming in his front door, that had just broken down his front door, and that he intentionally decided to shoot it out with law enforcement. Both of those are easily disproved by the facts in the Arkansas State Police investigation and in the ATF's own affidavit in their search warrant. But that's all they've maintained, is that they had no choice. It was self-defense on their part, and they just can't explain why this professional citizen who was doing what he was doing in front of God and everybody at gun shows decided to shoot it out with police and I guess commit suicide.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the story. That's the story about the guy who ran the Clinton Airport in Mena, Arkansas, I believe it was, or outside of Little Rock, Mena. I think it is Mena, Arkansas, whatever, the Clinton Airport, Little Rock Airport, or whatever it is. He was the head. He's a government official. And he was the head, and they knew who he was. And he was selling guns at gun shows, which was legal. He wasn't breaking the law, but they thought maybe he was selling guns to people that shouldn't have owned them, and they wanted to verify that if, like, I don't know what. And they decided to raid his house before dawn and kick his door in. And so, someone kicks your door in before dawn, if you don't think you're doing anything wrong, you would have no reason to think the police are coming to your house. And so he started shooting at the masked men coming in his door, and they killed him. This is a problem. It's a major problem, especially because they knew who he was. They could have easily just went and said, "Hey, how you doing? We want to talk to you." The guy he had like a $250,000, $300,000 a year federal job as the head of an airport. That's nuts. All right, I want to thank whoever it was that sent me the $10. It's Killary's fault, definitely, yeah, because her name was on that airport. She probably had him killed. So I want to thank whoever it was who sent the $10 on Cash App. I don't want to say your name because, well, that's I don't know. I don't know who it was, but it's $10 towards the goal, and yeah. I wish you would put whoever it was. Yeah, Jim thanks you, whoever it was. If you put your screen name in there whenever you send money on either Cash App or PayPal, then I could acknowledge you, but I don't want to read your name. That's, to me, that's, I don't want to dox anybody, but to whoever it was, thank you for the $10. And that then brings us to $40 away from a first additional hour of the show. So thank you very much. Let me double check. Rumble. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay. Up. He named names. I don't name names, but I don't want to say who it was. They like putting on their SWAT costumes and playing Navy SEALs. Oh, they do. They do. Mm-hmm. Trying to think. I don't see who I think it is, but I don't want to say her name. It's a woman, but I don't want to say her name. We'll just say thank you and go from there. So the Supreme Court on Monday agreed to hear a case on drug users possessing firearms to determine whether federal law criminalizing such possession is unconstitutional. Spoiler alert, yes, it is. Now, whether or not the Supreme Court's going to say that or not, I guarantee there's 3 people on the Supreme Court that are going to be perfectly fine with it. But breaking the law, I just hope the guy had a house or fell to ask, man, we're going to need that one. Yeah, they're suing it. They got all the cameras. Like, they were showing some of the cameras. They have it. It's sued, but like they broke down the doors and it's he's upstairs, so he came down and saw masked guys, armed guys coming to the house, started shooting at him. They shot back, and just say the first name. Okay, Julie. Thank you, Julie, for the $10. I hope that didn't dox the person. The Trump administration urged the court to hear the case. They should have let this go. This is something pisses me off about Bondi. It says, I'm sorry, but I think law enforcement should be smart about what they're doing. Yeah, the law enforcement should be smart. They should not. There's no reason for them to do this, though. This wasn't like a guy who was like a master criminal, like a criminal enterprise or something. This was a guy who had a job, a very profitable job for the federal government, working at a federal airport where he got background checks and all that stuff. All the guns that he bought, legally, and he would buy and sell guns at gun shows, which is legal. You don't need, this was under the Biden administration when they were trying to come up with something about what was, being in the trade of selling firearms, which they were trying to basically, if you bought a gun, if you sold it for any profit, they said you need a firearm license, because he didn't have a federal firearms license. That's what this raid was over, because they said you buy and sell too many guns, Yeah. But this case right here is messed up. So this case, according to federal law, anyone who is an unlawful user or addicted to any controlled substance is prohibited from possessing a firearm. So it's not just the people that are addicted, it's anybody who just uses. So if you smoked pot in 1990, According to the federal law, you can't own a gun today. It's a 10-year prison sentence, yeah. And this is the archetypal case for the court's review, John Sauer wrote. The court's decision will impact federal, similar state-level measures. The Justice Department has been implemented in more than 30 states. Since the Supreme Court's expansion of gun rights, it doesn't expand gun rights. This is fucking ridiculous. The lower courts have split on the federal crime's constitutionality. The 2022 decision requires gun control measures to be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, which there was nothing in the history of this country that said if you drank, you couldn't own guns. It was that if you're drunk, you can't be out like running around armed in public drunk. That was the only laws that were around. So, does anyone know Branca's take in this? Well, I'm sure Branca's going to say that this is unconstitutional, but I don't know if he's going to say that. I'm worried that the Supreme Court is going to say that this is fine because of who this guy is, because of him, the person. It's kind of like the same thing with that Rahimi case, that Rahimi guy who admitted to beating his wife or whatever it was, and then when he was challenging the ban on people who have domestic violence restraining orders, if it would have been a better case, a better person, a better defendant, somebody that never actually committed any violence, somebody that just was like they had no proof of any violence, it was just some accusation. If they would have challenged it and went up to the Supreme Court, it might have been a different outcome. But that's not, bad cases make bad law, and that's what we had in Rahimi, really. I'm at the point where I think everything our government does is unconstitutional. Honestly, a wide array of stuff. I guarantee if you had George Washington and you had George Washington and you had Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Madison, Monroe, you had those guys here today and they looked at this federal government, yeah, they'd be getting the little drummer boys out. Let's just say James O. Pulitzer's Kiss the Wig. Last year, Supreme Court ruled in a similar federal law that criminalizes gun possession under domestic violence restraining orders was constitutional. It's not. No. What would have been constitutional, what existed at the time, was forcing someone to pay a bond. So if they would, what's called surety bonds. If they would have said that you have to pay a surety bond to be, if you're under this restraining order, you pay us a surety bond. That's what existed. It was never anyone's guns getting taken away. Prior to 1968 and the passage of the Gun Control Act, if you committed a bank robbery, armed robbery, murder, anything like that, and when you got out of jail, you got your guns back. You weren't barred for life from owning guns. That happened in 1968. That's how long that's happened. So how could that be within the history of this country when it first occurred in 1968? They literally used to hand people back when they were getting you out of jail. They would give you your guns back that were in the possession of the jail. They would have your guns. They would give them back to you. They were your property. This is nuts what's going on. Yeah, hello. Like, subscribe, and share. Yes, thank you, Linda. Thank you. Sharon says, number 58, hello, Jim and the Jim Zodiac. So Sharon Tyler says, yeah. So yeah, please hit the like button. We've been going an hour. Please hit the like button if you haven't already hit like, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit like and subscribe. Yeah. Hit the like button. Like and subscribe. Please hit like. Please hit like. So, it really helps with the algorithm. Oh, what also really helps with the algorithm for the people on YouTube? Next to where you write the name, you write your comments and stuff like that in the chat, there's a little thing. It's like a plus symbol, or not the plus symbol, I'm sorry. It's the heart symbol. And you can hit like 100% or faces and hearts and different things. And that actually really helps with the algorithm because it makes them think there's like some kind of engagement, like a lot of engagement that the people are participating and stuff. It's not just people like not paying attention. So Justice says that would be okay with this. The three idiots, of course, the other woman that's supposedly conservative, and a possible fifth woman, Chief Roberts. Yeah, I think Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and Thomas and Alito are all going to be like, no, this is not good. But then again, Alito, see, there's the thing too, because it's just drugs. Yeah, YouTube's algorithm is jacked up. Yes, it is. Because it's drugs, you get people like that are kind of like, they're like, oh, we don't like drugs, and anybody who uses drugs is a bad person type of thing. So, so there's that. Then we'll just look real quick at the Epoch Times, Epic Time, or Zero Hedge. I'm sorry, this is Zero Hedge. Hour late, and I can still lick the like button. Stop being a slack-jawed rumble. Okay, there you go. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Gundam. You're all right. The Supreme Court will decide whether drug users can possess guns. The Supreme Court sent on Monday they're going to consider whether people who use illegal drugs will be allowed to possess a firearm. They granted the petition without comment and unsigned order with no judges dissenting. And they said the case involves Ali Danal Hamani, a dual citizen from the United States and Pakistan, according to the government's petition, which describes him as a drug dealer who uses illegal drugs. What words do you have banned? I thought this was a free speech channel. I don't have any words banned. I don't have any words banned on this channel. Zero. Now, whatever YouTube blocks out, that's what YouTube blocks out. Did you try? I mean, I don't see anything that says it's being held or anything like that. So, yeah. I don't have any words, like I don't have any words blocked. Just because I use weed products to replace my old prescriptions, I lose my right to self-defense. Definitely an infringement. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Drugs are bad, okay? Yeah, it's the YouTube algorithm. There's nothing I can do about it. There's certain words, but that's what's weird because I saw some words come through yesterday on YouTube in the chat that I can't say. And for some reason, that word was allowed to be typed in the YouTube chat. But yet other words, if you try to other things are blocked out. I don't get it. Hey, neurodivergent. Happy Monday, everyone. Definitely. So the FBI obtained a search warrant to look through this guy's house and raid his home, where they found a Glock 9mm pistol, 60 grams of marijuana, and 4.7 grams of cocaine. That's that's 2 ounces, roughly 2 ounces of marijuana and a little more than an 8-ball of coke, an 8-ball and another gram, just about. As the case worked its way through the system, the Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit ruled the Second Amendment prevents Congress from restricting one's right to possess firearms, even if they're habitual users of illegal drugs. The court's decision invalidates an important federal statute in the vast majority of its applications and exacerbates a multi-sided circuit conflict. So currently, federal law prohibits anyone who is an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance from possessing a firearm. In a recent opinion, the Obama appointee U.S. Circuit Judge Steve Higgleston noted that judges are adjudicating such cases daily across the country. A jury convicted Hunter Biden on the charge last year for possessing a Colt Cobra while being addicted to crack cocaine. He had argued it violated the Second Amendment until his father pardoned him. And that's the thing. Biden pardoned him. Wouldn't it have been a lot better if they would have just said, yeah, this is unconstitutional and got rid of the law? That's would have been Biden's better move. Sorry, 1 second. It said, meanwhile, lower courts have wrestled over federal crimes constitutionality in the wake of the Bruin decision, which requires that gun control measures be consistent with the nation's historical tradition. Supreme Court struck down New York's strict concealed carry licensing law and established a new test for evaluating gun regulations. Why did they go into the house? Because if you're in possession, it's different being user versus. Which case are we talking about? Are we talking about this case, the one with the guy with the drugs, or the one with the... You could not believe the chats on many channels yesterday. It was crazy. There was something going on. They were letting all this case. I think they were saying he was a drug dealer or something, and investigating something to do with Iran or something. But then they didn't charge him with any of that. They just charged him with this gun case. So that's what's weird. It's like weird. It's like really weird. Like what was this? Like, we can't see the search warrant to say exactly what they were looking for. It just says there was a search warrant. I mean, what was the search warrant looking for? Some courts have upheld the statute, reasoning its long-standing prohibition on firearm possession by certain groups, such as felons or individuals under restraining orders. Here's the thing, like we said, prohibition on felons has only been around since 1968, and it fits within the national historic framework. However, have struck it down in specific contexts. Last year, the court ruled the neighboring provision criminalizing gun possession for certain people under domestic violence restraining orders was valid. Well, yeah, what they didn't say all people. They said people who are actually violent by a court, that a court determines that they are violent. Meanwhile, the Supremes will also decide the constitutionality of Hawaii's law banning concealed carry on private property without the owner's express permission. Yeah, but for some reason, they wouldn't hear the case from Hawaii where the Hawaiian Supreme Court said that they don't really have a Second Amendment because, they have the aloha spirit in Hawaii. That was actually said in a court case. Yes. The aloha spirit. The spirit of aloha. That's that case. Now we got this. This is a case in next story. We have a 38-year-old accountant. Benjamin Michael Campbell was arrested after allegedly opening fire on a MAGA supporter over a Trump sign. According to the Daily Mail, Campbell is accused of firing shots at 62-year-old Mark Thomas in North Carolina. According to Thomas, Campbell was driving on the road when he came to a screeching halt after seeing a Trump sign. He was driving along, saw the sign, slammed on his brakes, had a political trigger moment, and then just had to go tear the sign down. He started reaching up on his tippy toes because he's a little guy. He's just a real little angry guy, trying to get to the edge of the sign. And I just thought to myself, this is not happening. I don't believe this. Thompson said he went outside and fired 2 warning shots. By this point, he ripped the sign off and just whipped it up and threw it down on the ground like he was proud of what he just did. Campbell then returned to his car and got a gun before firing 5 to 6 rounds at Thomas. See, I didn't realize that this guy fired warning shots. He fired 5 to 6 rounds. He was heading back down the driveway to the highway that passes in front of my place. Campbell, who's 5'6", was later arrested and charged with a Class C felony assault. He's facing 17 years in prison. So see, this guy's just a little guy. He's got that little man syndrome. Okay. Now this guy, this right here, it was on video. He points a gun from his sunroof. Yes. Yeah, this is crazy. Like, this is like a literal definition of a drive-by shooting. Like, this should be like a lot more serious to me than a Class C felony. This should be a Class A felony or a Class X felony or something like that. Like, whatever you want to call it. Whatever, I don't know, but this is nuts. Yeah. I mean, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. It's like, it's never justified for citizens to resort to violence in order to achieve political goals. Look at this. 30% of age 18 to 39 liberals say it's okay to use violence. Then you get to the 40 to 59, it's, 15%. Never forget how many millions of Americans immediately justified Charlie Kirk's murder in the days after he was killed. This is it. Like, it's got short man syndrome right here. You see? Like, what's with this woman too? Like, her head looks weird on her body. Like, something seems off. And, the New York Post says the diminutive accountant stands on his tippy toes to tear down a Trump sign. Shoots up the owner's house. Where was that? North Carolina. Hey, Fran VT, what's up? How you doing, Queen? Yeah, murderous nut job, definitely. Yeah, small penis syndrome, possibly. I don't know. It's a man. You think that woman's a man? Maybe. What is it? He will win. He will win this case. Diminutive accountant stands on his tiptoes. I am Bob. Hey, I am Bob. Says, we used to be a proper country. Order guns and automatics through the Sears and get delivered by UPS. USPS. That's right, man. You used to be able to order hand grenades through the mail. Hand grenades. Yes. Prior to the first infringement on our rights began in 1934 with the National Firearms Act, which is an abomination and is unconstitutional. But yet nobody's ever bothered to say, like, hey, man, we might want to knock this on out. This might be a problem. But yeah, you could get anything you wanted. Machine guns, Thompson machine guns. You could order Thompson. Chicago typewriters. You could order them through a Sears catalog and have them delivered to your house. No questions asked. Yeah, like less than 100 years ago. All right, and considering that this country is 250 years old, I would say that the history of this country is vastly more in the every restriction on our rights, gun rights, is an unconstitutional restriction. It says, Jim, I think Trump sent you something through Cash App. Okay, well, we'll see. Give me 1 second here. Let me do this. And yeah, or Montgomery Ward's, they'll sell you anything. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. So now with that, we are now $30 away from an additional hour. So thank you very much. Check the Cash App. Oh, this Trumpinator. Thank you, Trump. This was you for another $10. Thank you very much. And with that additional 10, we are now $20 away from the first additional hour of the show. $20 hairs. Thank you very much, Trumpinator. Thank you for the 10. All right. He's got a short fuse. There's going to be a lot of short jokes, I guess. Here. He's got a short fuse. A diminutive accountant is accused of becoming enraged at the sight of a Trump sign, ripping it down and shooting up the neighbor's house, and it's all caught on camera. Republican automatic weapons were banned during a Republican administration of Great Reagan. Dems always got the right to do their dirty works. Well, they're not banned. It's a very weird law that I think should be challenged too, but because they're basically saying you can't make any new ones. So it's just these limited numbers that are already in existence that are registered. Like the whole registry thing's got to go. Like the NFA's got to go. NFA's got to go. Hughes Amendment's got to go. The Gun Control Act's got to go. All that stuff's got to go. Just got to go. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we charge people with crimes for acts they commit, not these things like, oh, we're going to charge you with a crime for owning something that we don't like. No, that's completely against what this country was founded on. Yes, yeah, the ATF should be a convenience store that only sells alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. So the diminutive accountant, he was enraged. Benjamin Michael Campbell, who is 5'6", had to stand on his tippy toes to rip down the Trump sign before fire multiple rounds from a handgun at the homeowner from his sunroof of his car, missing him by just feet, footage shows. What elected Republicans are calling for that, Jim? A few. There's a few. You got, what's his name? there's a few, there's several people in the House calling for that. I think there's at least a couple senators that have called for repeal of the NFA and the GCA. I want to say Schmidt. I know Eric Schmidt has called for it. I know that, what's the other guy's name from Hawley? I think so. Yeah, just a few. It should be all of them, but no, just a few. Not a single Democrat, though. There's a bunch in the House. I think, what's his name? Clyde. His name is Clyde, I think. Representative Clyde. He's actually an NFA guy. And believe it or not, I think Massey has called for the repeal of both of those, and so has Rand Paul. Yeah. All service members should be able to carry guns. Actually, that's the way people to pass tests for assault weapons, too. Well, there's no such thing as an assault weapon. Don't let them trick you with that, Renee Collins. Assault weapon is just what you use the gun for to an assault. So any gun could be an assault weapon. It could be an assault handgun, assault shotgun, whatever. I mean, the term assault weapon comes from the Sturmgewehr, storm weapon, which was the first one, was created by the Germans, the MG44, I think, right? Or MP44, something like that. Wow, he's an angry liberal. You can just tell by the beard and the face. Michael Campbell, Benjamin Michael Campbell was arrested after opening fire at a business owner who confronted him for ripping down his Trump flag. Didn't a senator rep named Eli something call for the ATF removal? Yeah, I think it's like there's several. There's quite a few Republican House members that have called to get rid of the ATF and the NFA and all that stuff. The problem with the 2A language is not really hard to interpret. Shall not be infringed. It's really hard term to figure out. Yeah. STG 44. Okay, yeah. I knew it was 44 something. STG 44. The Sturmgewehr, yeah. Campbell, a married Atlanta native, was speeding down a highway in Nantahala Gorge, North Carolina, about 75 miles west of Asheville on September 6th when he suddenly came to a grinding halt when he spotted the flag hanging in Mark Thomas's front yard. He was driving along, saw the sign, slammed on the brakes, and he had a political trigger moment. He just had to tear the sign down. He started reaching up on his tippy toes to get the edge of the sign. I just thought to myself, this ain't happening. I can't believe this is happening. You think the M249 is definitely an assault weapon? That's a light machine gun. He fired 2 warning shots into the air to scare the trespasser, he said. Campbell, who had ripped off the sign, MP44 was used to hide the rifle from hit when he found out the orders were being disobeyed, but the rifle was loved. He renamed it to the STG 44. I thought it was the MP44. Yeah. Jewish space lasers are assault weapons. They can be. A shoelace could be an assault weapon. Yeah. Assault is an act. So calling it, it could be an assault baseball bat, assault car. We need to ban assault vehicles because they used them to run over a bunch of people. I mean, we're playing into their word game, and then they can just keep expanding what it means to be in yeah. You love the 249? Yeah. What sucks about it, honestly, Joe, is that you could buy a 249 today. You can buy an M249 semi-automatic. They're about 12 grand, 14 grand, something like that for a FN M2, for a 249 mini. Just because the only place they sell them is government contracts, and that's what the government pays for them. So why won't everyone else? There is one M249 SAW paratrooper version on the NFA registry. One. It sold for over $500,000 for a gun because supply and demand. It's worth what anyone will pay for it. So who wants a semi 249? It's like going to a strip club. Yeah, I mean, considering I don't think there's very much that's interchangeable, but I mean, we need the NFA to get, and the Hughes Amendment and all that stuff to get knocked out because, I mean, we need to be able to have, I need to be able to have M134 chain guns, on my vehicles. I want miniguns, electric GE, electric Gatling guns. Yes, that's what I want. Yeah. Miniguns, I want them. And it's the only way to get them. I found a bullet hole in my refrigerator, which is on my port, he said, noting that the fridge. So it says instead of heeding the warnings, the 38-year-old ripped his car back around the road and shot a handgun multiple times through the sunroof. You want a Thompson and a fedora? Surveillance shows dirt flying in the air where the bullet struck in his front yard. Police responded to the scene, but by the time they arrived, Campbell had driven off. Days later, investigators became aware of the video of the confrontation that Thomas shared on YouTube. Cops arrested Campbell on September 30th and released a photograph of him standing beside the height chart this week, revealing his short stature. NFAs will never go money. Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of people that would be pissed. They would lose a lot of money because they got a lot of money invested in this stuff. But you know what? It is what it is, man. You know, it is what it is. It's time for Americans to be, get their rights back. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Gatling guns that shoot eggs at stupid drivers. Yeah, something. It was not clear why he was in North Carolina. He said he said the Trump banner actually belongs to his 87-year-old mother, who was pretty upset about the ordeal. He said he plans to replace the stolen banner soon. We're not the kind of people that are going to be intimidated by these out-of-towners. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're hill folk. We're going to have the signs if we want them. Campbell was arrested in Cobb County, Georgia, and charged with felonious assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill or inflict serious injury, discharging a firearm to incite fear, and willful or wanton injury to personal property. He was extradited to Swain County on October 7th before he was released on a $70,000 bond. Islam will be our downfall. If we don't get a handle on it, it will. Mm-hmm. On to the next story. We're going to be moving through some good stories tonight. So we got breaking. Newly released information shows that the would-be mass shooter was live streaming when he arrived at the airport. There was an attempted mass shooting at Atlanta's Hartsfield, I think it is. Do you think it's time to get automakers back to the general public? Yes. Yes. It's always time. Problem is that I don't think if we had 9 Clarence Thomases on the Supreme Court, we would have the NFA would be gone, the Hughes Amendment would be gone, and GCA would be gone, and we would be buying guns and hand grenades in vending machines at gas stations. I would be able to have claymores around my house, for self-defense. This guy's a convicted felon for marijuana possession more than 2 decades ago. Authorities say he had mental health challenges. So there's cases like this that always seem to pop in the news whenever there's any talk about, why do we have these bans on people who use pot and guns? And then, oh, look at this. Here we go. The guys, this is why. It's very weird how this happens, right? He was very interested in a TSA check in the area that was heavily, heavily crowded with travelers, especially there. He got lucky. The guy was stopped.
Jake, what we saw was Atlanta's mayor and his police chief profusely thanking the family of the suspect for averting what they believe could have been a mass shooting at the world's busiest airport by notifying authorities that something wasn't right. So let me give you the timeline of events here with the suspect, Billy Cagle, 49 years old. He's a convicted felon for marijuana possession more than 2 decades ago, and authorities say he had mental health challenges. So this started at 9:29 in the morning, where Billy Cagle, he's on video arriving there at the South Terminal. 2 minutes later, he leaves his car outside and then goes inside of the airport. The police chief here in Atlanta say that he was very interested in the TSA check-in area that was heavily, heavily crowded with travelers. Now, by 9:40 a.m., this is when Cartersville Police Department, an hour north of Atlanta, alerts APD that there's a potential threat because they were hearing from the family of the suspect that he was on social media streaming, that he was armed, that he was headed to the airport to, quote, shoot it up. Cartersville police saying that he had, quote, intention to inflict harm to as many people as he could. Now, by 9:54, he was arrested there on the ground, not armed. This would have been 15 minutes since that first call came in to APD. So a very quick effort here by authorities. It's unclear, Jake, if he has an attorney. We're, of course, making those phone calls and reaching out.
All right, Isabel Rosales, thank you so much. Welcome to the...
Okay. What's it say? Gravity, where did it go? Yes, I don't know why we haven't cloned Thomas yet. It would be nice. We need to boost ammo production so it's cheaper. Well, what happened is a lot. It's just, I think it's inflation is what's caused a lot of the increase that we've seen. And it's not going to go back down just because the raw materials have gone up so much. Copper, brass, powder, and as more companies keep buying the stuff, they keep increasing their profits, and then Gravity Threat Heavy says he prefers tequila. Okay. Whatever that means. Trump and Air says Thompson subs are illegal to produce and sell. No, there's tens of thousands of Thompsons on the registry that were produced, prior to the ban that went into effect. Because after 1934, you could still buy a Thompson, you just had to pay a $200 tax stamp, which that's still the cost today is a $200 tax stamp. So, and people were still making brand new guns. I mean, like if you wanted to get a fully automatic machine gun, the easiest way to do it now is to either get a SOT tax stamp so you can make them yourself and register them yourself as a, for testing and stuff like that, or buy like a Mac 10, Mac 11, or an Uzi. Those are still reasonably priced around $6,000 to $10,000, depending on how they're, what they're set up with. Atlanta residents asking for the National Guard. Yeah, he drank milk right before he did it. Maybe. Atlanta needs it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, where else was he supposed to leave his car? Maybe they wanted him to drive his car into the place. Atlanta's the worst airport in the U.S. Takes long to change terminals. They remove the smoking rooms. Yeah, Atlanta sucks. I want my share of IRS 5 million rounds of ammo. Yeah, 5 million rounds ain't that much for me. But they did a bunch of stuff, and then what's driving the cost? The $200 tax stamp was very prohibitive when it was introduced. What's the attraction to the AR-15 versus the 30-06? Weight. The AR-15 is way lighter. The ammo is way lighter. 30-06 is more like is a full power round, basically a battle rifle round. Back when they used to think that. But an M1 Garand weighs about twice as much as an AR-15. We get Bella back on camera there. There we go. So a convicted felon. What kind of convicted felon gets convicted for just having pot possession? That's got to be either a lot of pot or some shitty laws. After making threats to shoot up the place. So a potential mass shooting was thwarted at Atlanta International Airport on Monday after police arrested a convicted felon with an AR-15 who threatened to shoot up the place. The 49-year-old suspect, identified as Billy Joe Cagle, reportedly called his family on FaceTime and told them that he was going to commit a mass shooting at the Atlanta airport. Atlanta police called Cagle mentally challenged. What does that mean, mentally challenged? Atlanta police are scheduled to hold a press conference on 3 p.m. Monday to discuss the incident that occurred earlier today at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. According to a source within the department, a man was arrested after allegedly making threats to shoot up the airport. Police reportedly found an AR-15 or similar firearm in the suspect's vehicle. Investigators believe the threats were made while the man was on a video call with family members. The suspect was taken into custody at the airport. I think I watched this, didn't I? That's the one. Let me see. Oh, maybe I didn't watch that. Oh, hold on. I didn't watch this one. My bad.
Now, out of Atlanta, our Fox affiliate reports police have stopped a potential mass shooting at the busiest airport in America. Correspondent Madison Scarpina reports. She's live in Atlanta for us. Madison, what's up?
Hey, John. Yeah, we're getting all this information from Fox 5 Atlanta from sources inside the Atlanta Police Department. But we're learning that a convicted felon was allegedly planning to shoot up the Atlanta airport today, the world's busiest airport. armed with an AR-15, and that suspect reportedly did get inside the airport before police quickly stopped him. So here's a live look at Hartsfield-Jackson right now, and here's what we know. Our affiliate source says that this felon did a FaceTime call with family members, allegedly telling them his plans to shoot up the Atlanta airport. Someone reportedly notified police after that call, who then found the suspect's car outside of the airport. It was blocking traffic, but the suspect was not inside. Police reportedly did end up finding the felon inside of the airport. They grabbed him, took him into custody, and authorities reportedly found that AR-15 while searching his car. Our Fox affiliate is also reporting that they had a camera at the airport all morning. It was very busy, and nobody saw anything. So it seems this whole incident was kept pretty quiet, but we're hoping to learn more from APD very soon. There is a press conference scheduled for about 15 minutes from now, but obviously a lot of questions as to how this supposed convicted felon got his hands on that high-powered semi-automatic rifle. And this, of course, all happening during a government shutdown where airports nationwide are struggling to stay staffed. And if you know anything about the Atlanta airport, you know it's always busy regardless, even without that government shutdown. So back out here live, thankfully authorities reportedly did stop a potential horrific situation. But again, hoping to learn more from APD at the top of next hour, John.
Well, so again, Madison, they apprehended him inside the airport, but the weapon was not in his possession. It was still in the car.
That is what Fox 5 Atlanta's sources are telling them right now. The car was outside of the airport blocking traffic. He was not inside there. Thankfully, they did find the guy inside, but what we know right now is that there was not a gun on him inside of the airport. But as you know, during breaking news, things could change, and hopefully we'll learn more soon.
Well, thank God at the moment he didn't have the gun inside the airport. Madison, Thank you. We look forward to the next update. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Sandra?
Well, John, it was the moment LSU's baseball team won.
All right. So yeah, so that was that. I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was a second one that I didn't see. So Atlanta police will hold a press conference for more details. The police arrested Billy Cagle charged with making terroristic threats, criminal attempt to commit aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a felon. Well, technically, see, here's the thing. Technically, he wasn't in possession of a firearm. It was in the car. So, I mean, this is one of those things. This is like a technical law type of thing. Like, he wasn't in possession of a felony. It was in the car. He wasn't arrested in the car. He was arrested in the airport. Can they prove that he was even in the car? I mean, this is one of these technical things that a good lawyer could probably get him out of a lot of this. Just say it. Because he doesn't have the gun on him. You know? So, what's the guy say? It's the location, good weather. That's why O'Hare is number one anymore. The weather in Chicago stinks. Yeah. Well, the reason O'Hare was such a busy airport is because it was like a hub where people could come there and then they would change planes and go other places. It was like a, yeah, but he wasn't in the car at the time, Beachcomber. He wasn't in the car. He got arrested in an airport. The car was outside the airport. Just saying. I think a good lawyer can make an argument, maybe get it tossed out. So this says they hold a press conference? Live Atlanta press conference? Let's see.
To address us all, let's listen in.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, and I'm here along with my colleagues to talk about an incident that could have been tragic but was averted. So we're joined here by the COO of this city, our chief of police, as well as Captain Shapiro from Sparacchio from Cartersville Police, as well as our FBI lead, Mr. Brown, as well as our, who else we have back? Oh, we have Ricky Smith from Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. And we are here to talk about a incident that occurred at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport that was averted today, thankfully. And Chief Shearbaum will give you a lot of details about that incident. But in particular, 27 or more lives could have been lost today because an individual came into Hartsfield-Jackson and after being reported coming out of Cartersville, Georgia, that had mental challenges. This individual, thankfully, his family went to the Cartersville police and shared with them what was going on, and they alerted APD, and APD and the airport were aware, and this crisis was averted. But this individual did have a semi-automatic weapon, and this individual was mentally challenged. And when you have those combinations together, it can turn out to be deadly. People that are mentally challenged, and he happened to also have been a felon from a few years back. So he's a felon with a semi-automatic weapon, and he's got mental challenges, and he's approaching the world's busiest and most efficient airport. This crisis, we're thankful to God and to good information and good intel and good people for this crisis being averted. Just a few weeks ago, we dealt with the CDC shooting that occurred in this city, where another individual coming out of Kennesaw had a mental challenge and a high-powered weapon and ended up killing a DeKalb County police officer and striking the CDC, as well as striking fear into the communities around. We also had an individual just last year in Midtown that was also seeking mental help with his parents, but ended up causing loss of life in that regard as well. We also had a Four Seasons hotel and residence, an individual with high-powered weapons and a mental health diagnosis. So what you're seeing is we are experiencing across the nation and even in this great city where guns and mental health challenges going together can propose a deadly scenario. But we're thankful that in this situation today, this crisis was averted. And so now I would turn it over to our police chief, Darren Shearbaum, to be able to give you more details about all of the aspects of this situation. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thanks, KPT.
Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you all
hit
being
the like
here.
button, can't stay long. I'm pretty late.
As the mayor stated, we are here today to announce an arrest of an individual that posed a threat to our airport, but also to note that because of the community, in the case of the family, as well as the joint collaboration of law enforcement, that a tragedy was indeed averted. The Atlanta airport, the busiest in the world, most efficient, remains safe. Each and every day we have a range of resources in place to keep the airport safe, including our special response team and the many officers that are assigned there. That team trains regularly for scenarios just like today. And I want to thank the men and women of the airport for their response. We have taken in custody and have under arrest a Billy Cagle, age 49, resident of Cartersville, Georgia. At approximately 9:40 this morning, the Atlanta Police Department was alerted by the Cartersville Police Department of a potential threat at the airport. Cartersville Police Department was alerted by the family of Mr. Cagle that he was streaming on social media, that he was headed to the airport, in their words, to shoot it up. And the family stated that he was in possession of an assault rifle. What we didn't know is that Mr. Cagle had already arrived at the airport. In fact, we know that he arrived at 9:29 going to the South Terminal, and that he entered the airport shortly thereafter at 9:31. At that time, we do not believe he was armed. He entered the South Domestic Terminal, and from video we will show you he seemed to be very interested in the TSA check-in area, which you can see was heavily crowded with travelers. At approximately 9:54, officers of this department, armed with a photograph of Mr. Cagle and being provided up-to-date information from their sergeant as she spoke to the Cartersville Police Department and a family member, was able to locate Mr. Cagle and take him into custody. He had arrived at the airport in a Chevy flatbed pickup that was part of the lookout provided to us by Cartersville PD. That vehicle was parked immediately outside. When we went to that vehicle, we found inside a Springfield AR-15 assault rifle, a 5.56 St. Victor model with 27 rounds of ammunition. We did have a tragedy averted today. I, just a short while ago, spoke to two officers of this department and thanked them. Because if it were not for Officer Gibson and Officer Banks, and if it were not for their Sergeant Jones that was providing them, I do believe that Mr. Cagle was headed back to his truck to retrieve it, and I do believe he was likely to use that weapon inside the crowded terminal that he had just seen. We are working closely with the District Attorney of Clayton County, District Attorney Mosley, And we have charged Mr. Cagle with a count of terroristic threats, criminal attempt to commit aggravated assaults, possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. We're here today briefing you on a success and not a tragedy because a family saw something and said something. A family knew they had a family member in crisis. They knew they had.
Didn't Biden pardon all these marijuana possession people? I thought that's what happened. Didn't he do a blanket pardon of anyone who had marijuana convictions? I swear he did. Maybe this guy is not a convicted felon anymore. I'm just saying.
Access to firearms, and they were on social media. This is something we've seen across the country time and time again. Social media postings, people with an awareness, individuals with access to a firearm. But today, the family said something. The local police in Cartersville quickly notified the Atlanta Police Department. And the Atlanta Police Department, using its resources at the airport, took the individual into custody. So today is how it should work. Community, law enforcement, dedicated men and women wearing the uniform and trained to respond
only
when
federally?
the community needs them.
Isn't that the only
so thank
ban?
you, Mr.
is
Mayor, for
federally?
making sure we have the resources to keep our airport safe and keep our city safe. And thank you to the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department, particularly our airport section, for what you did today. And now I'm going to turn the podium over to our representative from Cartersville, Captain Sparcio, for comments from him. Thank you.
Good morning. So this morning, just after 9:30, we were alerted by family members that Mr. Cagle was en route to somewhere in the Atlanta area. They weren't sure. Ultimately, we found out it was the Atlanta airport, and that he had the intention to inflict harm to as many people as he could. We were able to get in touch with the Atlanta Police Department. Our investigators were able to quickly determine what kind of vehicle he was in, get very...
All right, well, we've heard enough of this, right? We don't need to get more into this. We can go on to different... So we'll read this real quick. Just says, man who planned to shoot up Atlanta's airport is arrested in a terminal following a tip. Police arrested a man at Atlanta's bustling airport on Monday after getting a tip from his family. The police department was alerted by the family. So, yeah, so they averted it. They say they got the... Let's jump on to the next story now. We got 2 more suspects charged in the D.C. attack on Big Balls, the Doge employee. But is he a transmission? I don't know. Jim, states have their own Mary Jane laws. Most convictions by state. Federal does not have jurisdiction laws across the state lines. Okay. So heal fast, Big Balls. Trump and Doge, thanks you. Appreciate it. Well, I appreciate it. 2 more suspects have been charged with the attempted carjacking and beating of the 19-year-old man who worked for the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, a crime that was the catalyst for the White House's law enforcement surge in the nation's capital. Lawrence Cotton Powell, 19, and Anthony Taylor, 18, were arrested last week on charges stemming from the August 3rd attack on Edward Corsetine, a prominent Dodge employee nicknamed Big Bowls. 2 15-year-old suspects from Maryland were previously charged, convicted, and sentenced for his beating. Yeah, and they were given probation. This case underscores the escalating challenge that we face in confronting crime in Washington, D.C. Corsetine was walking a woman to her car in the city's Logan Circle neighborhood when he was attacked by a group of teenagers who repeatedly punched and kicked him. Suspects fled when they spotted a police officer. The attack on Big Balls fueled President Trump's decision to flood Washington with a surge of patrols of federal agents and National Guard members. Cotton, Powell, and Taylor are accused of participating in a separate attack and robbery of a man at a gas station shortly before the assaulted Corsetine, Big Balls. Pirro said. Cotton Powell was arrested Thursday. Taylor was arrested Friday. Both are charged in the D.C. Superior Court with attempted unarmed carjacking, robbery, and simple assault, and assault with intent to commit robbery. On October 14th, a federal judge sentenced the 2 15-year-old suspects to probation after they pled guilty to assaulting Big Balls. Trump said it was a terrible decision not to incarcerate the teens. I think the judge should be ashamed of himself, Trump said during an Oval Office appearance. I got this from the Associated Press. Authorities charged 2 more suspects with attack on Big Balls. 2 more suspects have been charged with the attempted carjacking, a crime that was a catalyst for the thing. So they attacked Big Balls. 2 15-year-old suspects were previously charged in Maryland. He was walking a woman to her car in Logan Circle. and they fled. The attack fueled this. Yeah, so that's it. That's all they're talking about. This is, prosecutors have already dropped nearly a dozen cases from Trump's DC crime surge. That says, yeah, well, wonder why. Yeah, so these two people were arrested Thursday and Friday. We read that. 15-year-old suspect's probation. Terrible decision. It was like the same exact story. The same fucking story. What is going on here? All right, on to the next story, I guess. So President Trump says he knows who he wants to run against Thomas Massie, who turns out is working with the socialists. Screen name in news is great. Thank God for big balls. He saved DC from high crime. President Trump announced Friday that he's endorsing Navy SEAL Ed Gallarine to challenge Republican Kentucky Rep Thomas Massie, who also moonlights as a Democratic socialist. Yes, we covered that story yesterday. He's palling around with all the socialists. Trump has repeatedly criticized Massie, issuing a warning that he and his team would primary the Republican rep. In a lengthy Truth Social post, Trump called Massie a third-rate congressman and a weak and pathetic rhino. So disappointed in what Massie has become. Yeah. And saying he must be thrown out of office. The incredible people of Kentucky. I hate the fucking Daily Caller for this. Incredible people in Kentucky's 4th District gave us a mandate to make America great again. The person that will help us do that is Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and 5th-generation Kentucky farmer, Captain Ed Gallarine, a true American first patriot. Brave combat vet, Ed knows the wisdom and courage required to defend our country, support our military and veterans, and ensure peace through strength. You're waiting for Bill Clit to save Chicago from its high crime? That would be good. Big Clit. I'm sorry, Big Clit. I was gonna say lovely labia. While Gallarine has not officially announced in his run against Massie, Trump hopes the Navy SEAL enters the race, and that if he does, he has the president's complete total endorsement. I hope Ed gets into the race against Massie, who's now polling about 9% because the great people in Kentucky are wise to him. Is Massie polling that low in Kentucky? I don't know. He only votes against the Republican Party, making life very easy for the radical left. Run, Ed, run. MAGA. In a statement provided to Daily Caller, Massie told the outlet that he's getting backing from the socialists now, so he doesn't need the MAGAs. And that consultants clearly pushed the panic button on the choice of who should challenge him. And he pointed to the DCNF to a clip of Gallarine, who resides in Massie's district, during a radio interview drive, stating that he would be honored and privileged to serve if there was a specific race where he was needed. For having been rejected by every elected official in the 4th District, Trump's consultants clearly pushed the panic button with their choice of a failed candidate and establishment hack, Ed Gallarine. What? Ed's been begging them to pick him for over 3 months now. Well, you went to the socialists and said, pick me to the socialists. Massie's publicly criticized the president's strikes against Iran, calling the decision unconstitutional in a series of tweets. Just before that, he joined the Democratic Socialist Ro Khanna in introducing a resolution to prevent Trump from engaging in unauthorized hostilities with Iran. Hey, Gripper, what's up, buddy? What's up? Hans says, Massie is just responding to Trump, who started the fight. Massie still votes the same way he always did, no big government spending. Well, actually, you might want to look into that, Hans, because Massie's taking a kind of different tact. He's now aligned with what's called IPAC, the Iranian Political Action Committee. He got money from him. He took pictures with fucking Islamists and, pro-Hamas people and a bunch of other stuff. So, I don't know. Something's going on. Since Massie's wife's died, he's changed. He's, he's very pro-Hamas now, it seems. And in a response, Trump blasted, and I always liked Massie. I thought he was great. He was posting pictures with he'd have a saw, or what was it? What is it? The 249B, I think it is, right? 249B. And a saw. Yeah. you're saying, I'm telling you, he lost his mind after his wife died. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what happened. In a response, Trump blasted the truth on Truth Social with political operation launched after effort. According to Axios, despite the clashes, the Republicans successfully fended off primary challenges in the last 3 election cycles. You see now when they got the pictures of him with the Hamas people and the pictures of him with the socialists and taking money from the socialists, and that like 96% of his money is coming from outside of Kentucky. People in Kentucky ain't going to like that. I mean, Kentucky people aren't dummies. They're going to be like, wait, why are you getting funded by New York and the East Coast? Why are you taking money from Democrats? Yeah. Oh, yeah. MTG is a hot mess now, too. Yes. Yes, she is. She's saying all types of shit. She's proven to be a straight up rhino herself. She's not MAGA at all. She's not MAGA. She's not MAGA at all. Here we go. Trump backs retired Navy SEAL in his quest to oust Kentucky Rep. Massey in a Republican primary. What did she die of? I think she died of cancer. I think she had brain cancer or something like that. She's always been a hot mess. Yeah. What's up, Grip? Yeah. Shelbyville, Kentucky. Trump has encouraged a retired Navy SEAL, an unsuccessful legislative candidate, to challenge the Republican in next year's Kentucky primary, building up his choices as a winner who will not let you down. Trump's choice, Ed Galrain, has not entered the 4th District campaign, but said he would reveal his plans soon while praising the president for an amazing job securing the border and lowering taxes. Trump touted Galrain in a Friday evening post on his social media platform, Run Ed Run. Yeah, they get to Congress and something happens. I mean, he's been in Congress for quite a while, but I mean, he's made statements about how MIT would like that. Basically, he's made statements about how that you can't get rid of all these H-1B visas and all these people coming in on student visas because that would hurt MIT. And he loves MIT because he went to MIT, and that what makes MIT so great is all the foreign students, because everyone in America is just stupid, and we need to have all these foreigners come in to the school so that we can educate them. At the expense of actual Americans being able to afford to go to those schools. And Galrain's a farmer and a businessman who had a long military career. Last year ran for a state Senate seat, narrowly losing in a 3-way Republican primary. Massey, bracing for the toughest political fight of his career, last week reported his best fundraising quarter ever, trying to counter the super PAC launched by the Trump aides. The maverick congressman sounded unfazed by the emergence of a would-be rival. But he connected himself with a PAC called IPAC. MIT is a bunch of communists. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I wouldn't call her a rhino necessarily, but certainly an imposter. Well, yeah, she's the same one came out and said that we can't get rid of any of the people that are here working illegally because she needs them for her construction business. Those were her words. In Kentucky, Tom Massey enlists Rand Paul to counter Trump. I don't think Rand Paul wants to get in the middle of this. Massey has drawn Trump's wrath for opposing him on budget and foreign policy issues, but is betting that Kentuckians will embrace his independent streak despite Trump's popularity in the Bluegrass Strait. Asked Money to handicap a potential 26 primary involving Massey and Galrain, Republican consultant Trez Waston said, the race is 100% about Tom Massey versus Donald Trump. I think it'll be an interesting test of Trump's influence on the base of the party because Massey also appeals to an important constituency, the base of the party. Problem's going to be when they start showing his connections to the socialists, the communists. You can't buddy up and take money from socialists and then claim to be, I'm an independent Republican, or I'm libertarian. No. Although I kind of think a lot of the people who claim to be libertarians are actually just fucking communists trying to subvert libertarian means to install their communist fucking leanings. So Trump's endorsement was seen as decisive in a recent open congressional primary in Tennessee. Matt Van Epps, who won the crowded Republican primary, said Trump's endorsement made the difference. And I will never forget it. Van Epps will compete in December in a special election to replace a GOP congressman who left office this summer. Massey's well-documented up-and-down relationship with Trump took another plunge this year. The the libertarian-leaning congressman opposed Trump's massive tax breaks and spending cuts package, saying it will grow the national debt and hurt the economy. They cut $1.5 trillion of deficit spending, so I don't understand. Massey also drew Trump's ire for saying the president lacked the authority to attack Iran's nuclear sites without congressional approval. And Massey has been among a handful of House Republicans looking to force the public to release the case files of the sex trafficking probe into the late Jeff Epstein. Some lawmakers want the government to release secret files about Epstein, who authorities say killed himself in New York. While awaiting trial, Trump has repeatedly denied prior knowledge of Epstein's crimes and claimed he cut off the relationship long ago, which everybody knows is proven. Massey has been endorsed by Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul, who joined a congressman on a 2-day swing through the 4th District last month. After one event, Paul told reporters that based on the enthusiastic turnout they received, it will be hard to run against Massey. Yeah, Massey's no independent. He's rogue. Yeah. Also, I used to be a registered one before I woke up and realized it was all a scam. Trump brands Massey as a lightweight. While promoting his choice to unseat Massey, Trump touted Galrain's military service and background as a businessman. Unlike lightweight Massey, a total ineffective loser who's failed us so badly, Captain Ed Galrain is a winner who will not let you down. Yeah. Massey has TDS. It's possible. I don't know. Maybe his wife hated Trump, had real bad TDS, and so now this is some kind of thing. I don't know. The MIT-educated Massey entered Congress in 2012. He represents a conservative district stretching across northern Kentucky that includes a mix of rural and suburban voters. His reputation as a contrarian, willing to buck the GOP leaders, goes back years. In 2020, during Trump's first term, he tried to stall a COVID relief package, which I was fine with. Trump berated him as a third-rate grandstander who should be tossed from the GOP. SmackDown was a bump in the road for Massey, who cruised to re-election in 2022. Trump endorsed Massey, calling him a conservative warrior and first-rate defender of the Constitution. Now Massey faces the prospect of running against Trump's vaunted political operation. Since he got elected, he's never faced a candidate who's both well-financed and well-qualified, so this will be a unique challenge for him. However, he's a very unique member of Congress. Very, very, very unique. Unique. Just fix Bella's camera. There we go. Much better. Much better. All right. Hey, what's up, Neuro? What's up? What's up, Grip? How you doing? Let's see here. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. You know. With the minimum majority in the House, we have to put up with clowns. Unfortunately, this is why redistricting is so important. It will take the power off the people like Massey and now MTG. Yeah. What would be yeah. Several candidates besides Massey have filed with the Federal Election Commission for Kentucky's 4th District. The winner of the Republican nomination will be heavily favored in November general, the district last represented by a Democrat 2 decades ago. So yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, and here we were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, so here we go. Ready? GOP will lose the House if it doesn't tackle the cost of living. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. All right. Marjorie Taylor Greene ramped up her criticism of the House Republican leadership, saying the GOP will lose the House if the cost of living does not decrease. What are they supposed to do? I could see into the future. I can't see into the future, but I see Republicans losing the House if Americans are continuing to go paycheck to paycheck. They'll definitely be going in the midterms looking through the lens of their bank account. Wait for comment. A spokesman for Mike Johnson directed the Hill to an interview he did with CNBC. I'm very bullish about the midterms. I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to grow the House majority here and keep the Senate. Of course, we'll be able to give President Trump 4 years, not just 2. Johnson also claimed that Republicans are doing the right thing and pushing for a clean, continuing resolution. Republicans hold a 219-213 edge in the House. Representative-elect Adelita Gravalia has been pushing to be sworn in after she won a special election to fill her late father, Raul Gravalia's seat. What the hell happened? What the fuck is going on? And he says Johnson maintains he'll swear her in when the House returns. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, household debt, mortgage balances, and credit cards rose by $185 billion, respectively, in the second quarter. Since the end of 2019, household debt has increased by $4.24 trillion. Oh, where's the mini dog tonight? It's in her cage. It's in her kennel. She didn't bring it in. Green has blasted Johnson and leadership throughout the ongoing shutdown. The conservative congressman has repeatedly called on the speaker to bring the lower chamber back to resolve the funding stalemate. Yeah, she wants to give in. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to give in and give the fucking subsidies back for Obamacare and give the fucking money to the illegal aliens. That's what she wants. AWS EST1. What's that mean? Yeah, she only cares about Epstein. Yeah. Who knows? Early Monday, Green said on social platform the House should be working, and has no respect for the decision to refuse to work. And that Johnson's argued that they did their job and they passed the funding bill. Green also said that she was absolutely disgusted that the health insurance premiums are projected to more than double. Georgia lawmaker, while she's not a fan of the law, slammed Republicans for not having a concrete plan on the impending increase of premiums. I mean, what is the fucking House of Representatives supposed to do about insurance premiums going up? Yeah. That's what she wants. She wants to keep illegals in the workforce. She wants money for illegals' health care. Yeah. No money for illegal immigrants. That's right. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a rhino. Johnson told Fox News that he had a thoughtful conversation with Greene regarding her concerns. There's a lot can be done, but you have to build consensus in a large, deliberate public body like this. Greene told Semaphore that there's intense frustration within our conference that we aren't passing our appropriations and we're not in session. There's not been one single GOP conference call. The Republican Party is failing, she said. All she is doing is giving talking points to the fucking commies. That's all she's doing. She's doing their work for them. Now, I don't know if this is payback because the Republicans didn't back her over the whole Jewish space lasers thing she said. But I'm not going to read much of this, but I want to just show you because this is exactly stuff she's saying is doing this. You got this left-wing rag, the Daily Kos. Marjorie Taylor Greene admits the GOP has no plan and the Republican Party is failing. A complete failure. But yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Democrats are not friends or allies, but they agree on one thing. The GOP is full of shit. Specifically, they concur with no Republican plan or constructive actions. So yeah, that's what she's doing. She's shooting inside the tent. On to the next story. Trump says he's doubtful Ukraine can win the war with Russia as he prepares for the Putin meeting. Yeah, she made some fucking comments before she was elected about Jewish space lasers or something, and they basically stripped her of all committees, and the Republicans didn't have her back. Yeah. You're affected by the shutdown, and I still don't want the GOP to give it on its subsidies. Yeah, I know. It's nutso bagutso. Trump said he's doubtful Ukraine can win the war with Russia as he prepares for the Putin meeting. Kiev, President Trump said Monday that while he thinks it's possible Ukraine could defeat Russia, he's now doubtful it will happen. The comments from Trump added a fresh layer of skepticism towards Kiev as he plans to meet again in the coming weeks with President Vladimir Putin for face-to-face talks in Budapest, Hungary on ending the war. Yeah. When is Green's construction company getting raided? I hope tomorrow. They could still win it, I think, but I don't think they will, but they could still win it. What the fuck is this? Trump last month reversed a long-held position that Ukraine would have to concede land after a lengthy call with Putin last week following a meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump made another reversal and called Kiev Monday to stop where they are and end the brutal war. Asked on Monday about his whiplash opinion, Trump offered a dour assessment about Ukraine's chances. He added, I never said they would win. I said they could. Anything can happen. War is a very strange thing. Earlier Monday, Zelensky said during the Trump White House meeting that Trump informed him that Putin's maximalist demand that Ukraine cede the entirety of its eastern Donetsk and Luhansk region was unchanged. Still, Zelensky described the meeting as positive, even though Trump also rebuffed his request for a long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles. In a public comment in the weeks leading up to the meetings with Zelensky, Trump had appeared to warm to the possibility of sending Tomahawks, which would allow Ukraine forces to strike deeper into Russian territory. The problem is, hold, what do you mean? Hold, what's wrong? Hold. The problem is, with Tomahawks, major problem with Tomahawks, is they can also carry nuclear weapons. They're nuclear capable missiles. So there's that. That's a problem. The U.S. leader's tone changed after the latest call with Putin, and he made clear that he was reluctant to send Ukraine the missile systems, at least for the time being. In my opinion, he does not want to escalate with the Russians until he meets with them. Zelensky also expressed skepticism about Putin's proposal to swap some territory it holds in the Kherson, Zaporizhzhia regions if Ukraine surrenders Donetsk and Luhansk, saying the proposal was unclear. The Donetsk and Luhansk regions make up the Donbass. Ukraine's leader said Trump ultimately supports a freeze along the current front line. What's wrong? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Obama and McCain started the Russian war in 2014. Yes, they did. And I love President Trump. He's too overly optimistic. Took him way too long to realize that Ukraine can't win. Yeah. Zelensky was diplomatic about the meeting with Trump, despite reports he faced pressure to accept Putin's demands. Zelensky said he hoped Trump's meeting in the coming weeks with Putin in Hungary, which does not support Ukraine, will pave the way for a peace deal. Zelensky said he is not invited to attend, but will consider it if the formats for talks were fair. He also took a shot at Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, saying he does not believe that the Prime Minister, who blocks Ukraine everywhere he can, do anything positive for Ukraine or provide a balanced contribution. Yes. Yeah. Russia has every right to protect its borders. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Zelensky and Kellogg have been lying to our president. Yeah, I don't trust Keith Kellogg at all. I think some of these generals who lie to the president, that lied to him his first term about stuff, and that lie to him now, should be court-martialed. That doesn't mean it'll definitely end, but Trump has achieved a lot in the Middle East, and riding that wave, he wants to end the Russia war. Ukraine is hoping to purchase 25 Patriot air defense systems from U.S. firms using frozen Russian assets and assistance from partners, but Zelensky said procuring them will require time because of the long production waits. He said he spoke to Trump about helping procure them more quickly, potentially from European partners. Zelensky said the United States is interested in bilateral gas projects with Ukraine, including construction of an LNG terminal in the southern port city of Odessa. Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but Odessa is still on the menu. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had 46 biolabs in Ukraine after we overthrew their government in 2014. That's right. Russia is invading Ukraine. They want the USSR back. If they wanted the USSR back, Peggy, they could have completely mopped over Ukraine and killed a whole bunch of more people and destroyed it very easily. And they didn't. They did certain things. I mean, I don't know. I can't get into Putin's head, but I can tell you if the Russian military threw their full force at Ukraine wouldn't be there anymore. Zelensky said the United States is interested. Yeah, okay. And all right. So an earlier version of the story has been correct to show that the reference Trump-Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office was February 28th, not March. This from Bloomberg. It says Trump cast new doubt on Ukraine's ability to defeat Russia. You're telling their plan for a new world order? Well, if they had a new world order lined up, then all the globalists would be on board with it. Yeah. Star is correct. The Minsk 1 and 2 agreements were violated by us. Yes, they were. Yeah. I mean, none of this would have happened. This happened specifically because that bobblehead Vice President Kamala Harris went to Ukraine and said that Ukraine was joining NATO. And then a week later, Russia invaded. Because that's a red line, man. That'd be like, honestly, that would be what, like, let's say the Russians were going to put nuclear weapons in Cuba. What would the U.S. do? President Trump cast doubt on Ukraine's ability to defeat Russian forces, backing off an earlier upbeat assessment as he looks to bring the war to an end. I don't think they will, but they could still win. So that's it. So Trump just says, maybe Trump actually looked at it and said, on to some more news. It says, abject lies. Violent leftists have been arrested and charged with illegally obstructing federal law enforcement, a felony. Let that sink in. Open borders Democrats have incited leftists violently attack ICE. Because here's Mayor Karen Bass, who is a communist who trained in Cuba in revolutionary tactics. Yes. So, to say 170 people have been arrested.
In addition to undocumented individuals being detained, we also know that legal residents, people who were attending court hearings, were detained. And we now know that there is evidence of over 170 U.S. citizens who have been detained. And it's important that we say today that what is happening to undocumented immigrants is also happening to U.S. citizens, which means that this can happen to anyone.
Yes, it can. Look at a smiling cunt. It can happen to anyone who throws bricks at federal agents, who tries to interfere with federal agents doing their job in deporting illegal aliens. If you interfere, impede, oppose, resist federal law enforcement, you are breaking the law. All of these officials, every one of these politicians standing here should be arrested and charged with impeding federal law enforcement. Prickster, Newscomb, Commie Johnson, all of them. Arrest them all. That's what Abraham Lincoln would have arrested them all already. Abraham Lincoln wouldn't have stood for this. The last time the Democrats tried to start a civil war, Abraham Lincoln locked them up. Start locking these motherfuckers up. Judge questions Trump official over ICE's use of tear gas. But it's weird because this is state police. A federal judge in Chicago grilled U.S. immigration officials about the federal agents' use of tear gas and other forceful tactics against protesters as part of President Trump's crackdown in the city. They're rioters. Judge Sarah Ellis has repeatedly expressed concern that federal agents were violating her October 9th order requiring them to wear visible identification and limiting their use of anti-riot weapons such as pepper balls and tear gas. How is it any of her business? She has no control over how they operate. On Friday, Ellis ordered federal officers to have body cameras and turn them on at all times while conducting immigration enforcement. At Monday's hearing, Ellis also said she would allow the plaintiffs in the case, protesters, journalists, and clergy members who sued the Trump administration, alleging they were deliberately brutalized during the peaceful demonstrations, to question several officials under oath, including Gregory Bavino. Granting the plaintiff's request, Ellis made it clear that the litigation is limited to the tactics used by field agents, not the president's stated rationale. I don't think it matters what the administration's objectives are or what goals they have or what ideology is pushing this enforcement action. This lawsuit is about how ICE officials and CBP officials are enforcing the laws. They are enforcing the laws. Do we stop enforcing the laws because people try to stop you and fight you? Is that how we do it now? Clashes between protesters and federal agents, particularly Border Patrol agents and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers, have increased since Trump launched his crackdown in early September. Trump also ordered the deployment of National Guard troops to the Chicago area, part of the Republican president's campaign to send military personnel to Democrat cities to fight crime. What exactly is this guy signing? There's no way it's the same as the words being spoken. Who knows? Separately, a federal appeals court money cleared away for hundreds of Guard soldiers deployed to Portland. At Monday's hearing, Ellis asked Kyle Harvick, a deputy incident commander, about several hostile interactions. Over the weekend, law enforcement pointed a gun at a group of bystanders outside an ice cream shop. You can understand how I might be concerned. That might be a use of force that's not commensurate with any threat the agents are getting from people passing by. Harvick said he did not have the details, but defended the actions. A deputy field officer said that 70 people have been arrested for either obstructing or assaulting federal officers. He also said he's unaware of any intentional targeting of journalists, adding that some people at protests are claiming to be journalists but do not have press credentials. The police department in Broadview, a suburb where the protest has taken place, reported that ICE agents fired pepper balls at a CBS reporter's vehicle. Was her vehicle driving by in the middle of something that was going on and got hit by pepper balls? I mean, come on. Trump justified the Chicago's crackdown. The city's murder rate has specifically declined, although it remained higher than other large U.S. cities. Well, they're cooking the books, too. We found that out. J.B. Prickster accused Trump of deliberately seeking to provoke unrest. Yeah, if you try to enforce the law, it's going to provoke unrest. Just let us continue to violate and have our own little commie, thing here where we do whatever we want. I don't like the way they're framing this. It's all fucked. Anyway. All right, everybody. Well, we didn't hit the goal tonight, unfortunately. So I want to thank everybody who was here. Please remember to hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. It is what it is. I'll see you all Tuesday night for another show. We'll give it another go. We'll see if we can hit the goal and extend the show by another hour. But I want to thank you all for being here and remind you to, come on back for Jim to tell you the news. And also, maybe go over see Joe and tell him I said hi or something like that. Because, it is what it is. Anyway, take care. Brush your hair.